stories we covered this weird week was about Trump's new deputy FBI director, tough guy podcaster, Dan Bongino. Unlike previous deputy directors of the FBI, for some reason, Mr. Bongino is going to have bodyguards protecting him day and night, 24 hours a day. Other deputy directors of the FBI have never had this, but he's going to have full-time protection, which could require as many as 20 agents. NBC News reporting, quote, the previous deputy FBI director was assigned a single agent part-time to accompany him to certain events. But the new deputy director, the tough guy podcast host with the arms, he apparently will have bodyguards following him at all times, including inside secure FBI facilities, which, yes, includes FBI headquarters in Washington. They will also be watching him while he's sleeping. Around the clock, watching Dan for some reason. But it turns out Dan is not alone. We're paying for more inexplicable bodyguards. If you are lucky enough to still have a local paper where you live, I hope you subscribe. If so, you may have seen headlines this week about your beloved local library or local museum. Headlines like this one, quote, Mississippi libraries face cuts due to executive order, or public libraries in Georgia brace for federal cuts, or federal cuts leave Rochester museums scrambling to fund major projects. This one in Wisconsin, small Wisconsin libraries may be hit hard as Trump targets federal funding. In the Northwest, federal funding pulled from Washington state libraries. Among the library operations that Trump is going after are the operations at the Washington Talking Book and Braille Library in Seattle. Yeah, remember when Donald Trump campaigned for president at those big rallies, when he would yell and promise that he was going to close all the local libraries? Yeah, shut down the remember when he campaigned on that? Yeah, me neither, but that is the news this week, because that's what he's doing. The Trump administration abruptly terminating all federal funding for museums and libraries all across the country. So as they're doing that, you should know that this is the guy, who Donald Trump put in charge of gutting the federal institute that provides funding for local libraries and museums. And the Trump administration likes to give multiple jobs to the same people. And so this one guy in charge of cutting off all libraries in the country has also been given the job of Deputy Secretary of Labor. And in that capacity, he has now decided that the Labor Department must pay for him to have a round-the-clock, 24-hour-a-day security detail. Him too. As Josh Marshall at Talking Points Memo reports, when this guy first asked for a security detail, the only things he could point to justify the security detail were, quote, weird looks he felt he was getting from people around the department. Also, an email from another department sent to a mutual acquaintance calling him a toady who was unqualified for his job. Despite the fact that that was his claimed reason for needing bodyguards, that was apparently enough. He was provided, quote, with a security detail for a little more than a week. Then, though, the Department of Labor was not staffed to provide him with an ongoing full-time security detail. That led to the Department of Labor advertising 8 new positions at its Division of Protective Operations for a rough total of about $2 million a year. Most or all of this is entirely for the purpose of protecting this one guy. So with all the tens and hundreds of thousands of people being laid off from their federal government jobs, you know, park rangers, cancer researchers, people who answer the phone at Social Security, we can afford an extra $2 million a year so this one guy can get a security detail while he goes around cutting funding off from local museums and libraries and playing the number 2 job in the Labor Department. Because, you know, efficiency.